House Democratic leaders are launching an investigation into President Trump's reported demand that the Justice Department pay him $230 million in compensation for federal investigations into him. The probe, led by Representatives Jamie Raskin and Robert Garcia, highlights ethical and legal concerns of the potential payout. In a letter to Trump, they write, quote, "Your plan to have your obedient underlings at the Department of Justice instruct the U.S. Treasury to pay you personally hundreds of millions of dollars, especially at a time when most Americans are struggling to pay rent, put food on the table, and afford health care is an outrageous and shocking attempt to shake down the American people." Back with us, Paul Butler and Sam Stein. Paul? Huh? What? And this is the benefit, I guess, for Trump of putting in his personal attorneys at the head of the DOJ. Because the people who would make this decision, Todd Blanche, the deputy, Pam Bondi, who was sitting right next to him a minute ago, those are the people who would say yes or no to this. And I don't see how they could say no when he's made very clear he wants the money.
So, Eugene, I was a federal public corruption prosecutor. I thought I had seen it all. When I say never have I ever, this is the griftiest grift of all time. So the president is basically commanding the American taxpayers to pay him $230 million. Under the Federal Tort Claims Act, you have to file what's called a Standard Form 95, where you state your claim, and the idea is the government has an opportunity to settle the case before there's litigation. They almost never do. Typically, you don't hear anything, and then after 6 months, you're allowed to file your own lawsuit. But not with Donald Trump. In this case, not only are they going to settle, apparently it's going to be for a huge amount. So under the law, if a settlement is more than $4 million, it's got to be approved by either the Deputy Attorney General or the Associate Attorney General, both of whom are straight up MAGA. And the Deputy Attorney General was Trump's defense attorney. The Associate Attorney General represented one of his co-defendants in the classified documents case. So this is just straight up a conflict of interest, but doesn't seem to be a whole lot anybody can do about it. It could be a crime, but of course the president is immune.
I mean, one of the ways you would know people were upset about it would be not just Democrats, but Republicans saying, well, Mr. President, like, you can't do this. Well, listen to what Republicans had to say on Wednesday when, after this news broke.
We're for the rule of law. We're for what is just and right. And it's just absurd that, I mean, as has been noted here several times this morning, they attack him for everything he does. It doesn't matter what it is.
I'm concerned about that. So can I actually investigate that on my own and figure that out?
At the very least, it's horrible timing, given that we're in a shutdown. But unless it's something, as I've said, that's been done in the normal course of business, maybe where a vindictive prosecution has been demonstrated or prosecutorial misconduct, it seems a bit odd to me.
Sam, it seems a bit odd. A president of the United States is saying, give me $230 million because I'm mad because the party, like we are the party of rule of law, was... Just talk, Sam, because I'm just vexed by the whole thing. It's not even just
Tom Tillis who's saying it's odd. It's Trump himself who said it's awfully strange to make a decision where I'm paying myself.
It's like, well, then don't do it.
He's totally telling on himself. It's very strange.
It is odd. I mean, it's more than a bit, obviously. But here's the thing that is really remarkable about this, which I feel like hasn't gotten a lot of attention, which is the remuneration is meant for damages and to repay legal bills, right? But if you recall, Trump didn't necessarily pay his legal bills. He raised a ton of money through his Save America PAC for the purposes of paying his legal bills. So it's his donors who put up the funds. So if you were to get $230 million, in theory, that should go to the people who paid the bills. That's not happening here, obviously, because he's going to take a huge cut of it. And yeah, the other thing is, of course, it wasn't that he was found innocent, right? What happened was he was elected, he was immune from prosecution, they dropped the cases. So it's not like it was proven it was a vindictive prosecution. He's just claiming it's a vindictive prosecution. It's not like he was innocent. He just won election and the cases went away. So all of this stinks. I mean, it really does stink. It's eluding of the federal government by him The ethics person at the DOJ is supposed to handle this, but of course Pam Bondi fired the ethics person at the DOJ. It is the most grifty thing in an administration that is pretty grifty, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
The griftiest grift, as Paul Butler just said.
and also the way that this administration really cherry picks when they're going to enforce the rule of law and abide by certain guardrails that are in place and when they're going to disregard it. I mean, something actually that you just said in the first segment still has me a little bit, I don't know if startled's the word, but you saying that Pam Bondi decided not to go so far in that public statement where Trump was talking about Adam Schiff, and she said, I can't talk about grand jury matters, and that you speculated that maybe she's afraid, that she'll be penalized by the Bar Association in some way, disbarred later on.
Yes.
I mean, what other independent entities still exist, do you think, that do scare these Trump administration officials and potentially prevent them from following through on Trump's most out-of-bounds asks?
So, Jackie, the bad news is nothing. I don't think there's anything that will stop the folks in justice for doing what Trump wants them to do. Again, at this point, the main concern is that after they leave office, they will be brought up on bar charges. And that's quite likely, actually. That's already happened to a number of people in Trump world. But typically, again, the concern is that if I do something that's illegal or unconstitutional or unethical, the boss is going to fire me. The boss actually wants them to do this. And when you talk about kind of unequal justice, again, this grift in the White House, the reason that it's particularly galling is that this procedure, this legal procedure, is for people who actually have been abused by law enforcement, and it never works. The New York Times reported about a veteran, an American citizen, who was falsely arrested by ICE, accused of not being a citizen. He got arrested, locked up, beat up by the cops, he said. And so his lawyer is filing a complaint under the same provision. What's likely to happen? Nothing. Most people who file under this complaint, they don't get squat. Lawyers don't even like to have clients because it's this hyper-technical, legalistic procedure that's designed for the government not to pay anybody. The only person who gets paid, who's getting paid now, is
Paul,
Donald
but that's
Trump.
their fault. They need to appoint the deputy attorney general.
Sam, I want to shift gears a little bit here because the Justice Department is apparently going to be monitoring elections in California and New Jersey. This is from the New York Times on Friday. The Justice Department said in a news release that personnel from the agency's Civil Rights Division will be stationed at polling places and offices of registrars of voters to ensure transparency, ballot security, and compliance with federal law. But I also want to play some sound from Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, from Thursday in the White House that's tangentially connected to that.
Secretary Hegseth, sir, a memo circulating on social media details the establishment of a National Guard response force that's going to be trained in crowd control and civil unrest and deployed in all 50 states by April of 2026. Can you verify the authenticity of that memo, and do you have any more information on the operations?
I'm not going to answer particulars on something that may be in the planning process, but we definitely do have multiple layers of National Guard response forces, whether it's in each state, whether it's regionally, whether it's Title X active duty, whether it's Washington, D.C. We've got a lot of different ways that constitutionally and legally we can employ Title X and Title 32 forces, and we will do so when necessary.
Sam, this is, I mean, my alarm bells are going off in my head. I don't know if maybe I'm being dramatic, but this seems like.
Not you.
Not me, dramatic. Like an escalation and something that should be concerning to a lot of people.
Yeah, of course. I mean, yes, obviously it's concerning. It's concerning when they dispatch federal authorities to states against the governor's will. It's concerning watching them loot the DOJ. It's concerning the story that we haven't discussed, the random $130 million gift that some benefactor is giving to the military. We don't know who it is. That's concerning. Everything is deeply concerning in this moment, and you kind of have to pick which ones you're going to emotionally get more invested in and which ones not.
I have a large bandwidth.
Yes, I'm aware of the vast emotions you have. In this case, I do think, I want to see the details of this, the election monitoring. Obviously, it's conspicuous that they are choosing Democratic states. It's odd that they didn't do Virginia, which also has an election.
Right.
Although Virginia has a Republican governor, I'm not totally sure what to read into it. I will note sometimes, I'm not saying this is a reason to be optimistic, but sometimes when this does happen, it has the opposite effect of it encourages people to get out more. It really riles people up, and it backfires from the intended consequences, assuming that the intention here is to, have some sort of voter suppression. So we'll see what happens. This broke last night. We really haven't seen much in additional reporting, but yeah, of course, be concerned.
Yeah.